welcome back to the channel everybody. In today's video, we're going to be checking out the highly anticipated Transformers Studio Series 1986 leader class Slag and Daniel, and oh boy are these Dinobots in a league of their own. I mentioned in the Studio Series 86 Grimlock review that I really don't think there is much need for Masterpiece if Hasbro are going to be putting out such magnificent figures as this, and I completely stand by that statement. This guy is exceptional. Now before we get into actually taking a look at the main event himself, that being Slag, we will first of all take a look at Daniel here in his exosuit. Now this guy is very similar to what we got with Wheelie in the sense that he's a semi-articulated, rather static figure and has been pre-posed in a rather odd looking position. I will be honest and say though that I do think the exosuit looks really well done. You can see some nice sculpt work. I do apologise if he is being completely blasted out of this particular review, as this guy is completely cast out of a very solid white, but you can see some nice sculpt work here at the back with what appears to be some thruster detailing. I do like the hydraulics that we've got going on here for the shoulders. And as we spin around here down to the lower section, you can pick out some nice details here of this almost green colour variation. And for a very quick comparison, here we have him next to Wheelie. And I will be honest and say that I actually do prefer Daniel over Wheelie. I think this guy looks a little better when in comparison to this guy. But it would have been awesome if they could have given him some type of head detailing. As it stands, it is merely just a complete white dome. But I guess you could say this is either Daniel or it could in fact even be Spike. So who this character truly is completely up to your own personal preference. But getting here into the main event himself, here we have Slag. And much like Grimlock, this is probably, if not is, the best Dinobot Slag that we have ever gotten from Hasbro and Takara Tomy. I think that maybe Hasbro and Takara themselves don't have plans for Masterpiece Dinobots, so they are really just knocking it out of the park as far as these mainline figures are concerned. From literally every single angle, this guy screams the 1986 movie. He looks super well done, and these figures are one of the biggest leaders that we've gotten in many years, as well as some of the best well-built ones. Taking a closer look here at the details, the head sculpt really does look fantastic. I think the sculpt work perfectly captures his appearance from the show. I would have liked some white paint apps on the side of the helmet, but I think that's a minor critique for what is otherwise an exceptional looking sculpt. And of course we've got the metallic eyes there. The actual interior section of the Triceratops head is unpainted, which does look rather odd from a front-on perspective. It would have been nice if they could have picked this out in gold, especially considering we're paying leader price point, but this guy is really big, so I imagine they were probably pushing budget as it was. Taking a look here at this chest piece, this is in fact not the lower section of the mouth. This is in fact a faux chest piece, which you'll see more of later on during transformation, but the sculpt work on this looks really well done with that Autobot insignia. He's a very broad character. The chest is certainly incredibly wide, and that may be a critique that I do have. I do find these arms looking a little out of proportion with the upper torso, but that once again, much like the paint apps for the actual head, is a minor critique for what is otherwise a really well done figure. There is some lovely looking sculpt work here for the shoulders, as well as for the biceps and the hands, and they didn't have to paint these. They could have just completely cast these out of a gunmetal grey, but they did decide to paint them with a very nice glossy black. Moving down to the lower section of Slag, you can see some nice detailing here, as well as for the thighs, some metallic blue, as well as some green highlights, as well as all of that superb mechanical detail. I do know those die-hard G1 fans are not massively impressed with Hasbro packing these figures in with so much surface detailing, but for me, a die-hard live-action movie fan, this is definitely candy to the eyes. You can see even the interior of the figure looks so well done. Much like Grimlock, the hollow spaces have been kept to a bare minimum. There are literally no hollow gaps on this figure at all. Even turning here to the underside, everything is sculpted from all angles, and I don't think the back looks too bad at all. I think it actually conceals quite nicely. We've got a flight stand pull if you wish to get him into some of those more dynamic poses, and we've also got some exceptional looking sculpt work going on in the actual inside of this region, which you will not see in Triceratops mode at all. And you can also see some lovely looking sculpt work here from the back, which is just something they didn't have to include, but I'm super glad that they did. He does also come with his blaster. Now this looks terrific. The sculpt work looks really well done. This has been completely painted out of a very nice metallic looking grey. That just fits there very snug into the hand. As far as his articulation is concerned, he does have a ball joint here at the head, which can look left to right as well as up and down. One of the major design critiques I have with this figure is that the neck, much like the Siege Voyager Megatron, doesn't really lock into place. You can see how it simply does just float. So now and again, it will have a tendency to actually dip, but due to the nature of the design, the head will more than likely actually bang into this chest piece, meaning that it won't dip in all the way. But I do wish that maybe there was some type of locking mechanism. We do get really heavy duty ratchet joints here for the arms, which can rotate the full 360 as well as hinge out to the sides, and I'm super glad to see that they did in fact sculpt this in a way so that it isn't just a dead clean cut. That would have looked really unnatural, but as it stands, this looks excellent. We do get a full rotation here at the bicep, double joint here at the elbow, which is fantastic, full rotation here at the wrist, full rotation at the waist, which too is excellent. Proper ratchet joints kicking out to that far, as well as kicking back to that far, which is superb. Out to the sides on a hinge joint. Full rotation here at the thigh, as well as a double ratchet joint here at the knee, which once again is very heavy duty. So these can click way past 90. And then finally turning to the ankle of Slag, he does in fact have a superb ankle rocker joint, much like Grimlock, and even the interior of this too has been detailed. So overall, as far as presentation is concerned, other than he's missing some white paint apps for the head, this guy is near enough spot on to how he appeared in the G1 series as well as the 86 movie, and I'm so looking forward to as to what they're going to put out for the likes of Swoop, Snarl, and of course Sludge, as if they're giving us both Slag and Grimlock, they've got to complete the entire 5 Dinobot lineup, and I think it really will be a sight to behold on the shelf. These guys are going to look exceptional once all gathered together, and I really think will pop out and stand out from pretty much any of the mainline figures that Hasbro have been putting out in recent years. These honestly are so well done. Here for that 86 movie Dinobot comparison, we've got Slag compared next to 86 Grimlock, and I think these guys look really well done, especially considering their scale is pretty much spot on to how we saw it in the show, and Slag, if you count to the top of the Dino head here in robot mode, is actually bigger than Grimlock. I think the proportions look for the most part really well done, besides some slightly stubby arms, but as mentioned, that is just a minor critique. I think the sculpt work looks really well done. These guys definitely are leaps and bounds better than their previous Power of the Prime comparisons, of which I'll bring out later on in the review, but really they are just so well done. It's really difficult to see as to where Hasbro will go next, as they really have outdone themselves here. I can't see them perfecting this unless they take this particular design into Takara Tomi's masterpiece line and just of course refine the articulation a little better and just add a ton of more paint. But as it stands for mainline figures, these guys really are great. For some more mainline comparisons, we've got Slag compared next to Ultra Magnus, Hot Rod, Wheeljack, and Cup, and I think he scales really nicely with these. At the time of this recording, I don't possess Rodimus Prime, so I'm unable to give you that comparison, but judging by some of the images online, I really do think he's going to scale quite well with him. And if we just move Cup here out of the way to give you that comparison with Earthrise Optimus Prime, I think the scale here once again works really well done. And as mentioned, just by taking a look here through my camera, we really are living in the golden era of Transformers. Who would have thought that we would have gotten such highly detailed, high quality leader class Dinobots in 2021 as these guys are? They honestly look like masterpiece figures. I'm so impressed with what Hasbro are putting out for this line. And wrapping things up here for comparisons, here we have the new leader class version compared next to the deluxe Power of the Primes version of Slag. And don't get me wrong, I think this guy was actually really well done, especially for his time, and considering that he is a part of a combining Gestalt, Hasbro did do a really good job, but when in comparison to this leader class figure, it just absolutely abolishes him. Now, this version is the premium Takara Tomy Volcanicus box set exclusive, so has a ton more silver paint than the original version, but if I were to bring that original version in, honestly, it would be night and day. The only thing that I would have liked to have seen, as mentioned before, is some of the silver that we've got on the side of the helmet actually implemented onto this figure, and maybe some of the silver or even gold actually painted for the roof of the Dino mouth. But other than that, honestly, it is such an upgrade. You can see here from a side perspective, he cleans up so nicely. Such a heavy duty, robust, awesome looking leader class figure. And as mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, if you were to show me this particular comparison 2 years ago, I probably would have mistaken this guy here for a masterpiece. So transformation here for Slag, surprisingly, is actually relatively straightforward. So you are going to want to remove the blaster and rotate the wrists around and just compress them into those cavities. Come here to this side and repeat the same process. We can then ratchet the joints out here to the front. I then like to turn my attention to the tail, disengage this from the back, just loosen all that up, and it is also held in via these slots here on the back of the crest, so just detach all of that. We can then rotate here at the waist. You're then going to want to lift these sections up. Such a nice touch. These here are only to serve as aesthetic in robot mode. They do not play any role in transformation at all. That is so awesome. So rotate this section down, bring this forward, and then compress that in. We can then collapse the toe, and of course come here to this side. So lift this panel up, fold this section out, rotate this in, and then collapse the foot in until it tabs into place. We can then shift all of this up, like so, and compress everything in upon itself. Now, once you've done that, you can see some tabs here on the foot that will in fact peg into these slots. So peg that in there, flip here to this side, and repeat the same process. Just snap that into place, and lock all of that in. With that now done, we can turn our attention to the torso. So you're going to want to pull out this plate. We can then take here at the shoulders and split these out. Take the head collapse that into place and lift the entire mouth in. Now this is held in robot mode via this slot and tab, so just disengage that and compress that in. Now for this section, you're going to want to fold these pieces up, and we're going to utilize these 2 double pins, as these are going to shift into the middle of the torso, just like so, and come here to this side and repeat the same process. So lift that crest section up, bend both of those joints in accordance with one another, and then just come to the center, tab those in, take this chest piece here, fold that in over the top. You can just straighten out the arms like so. You're then going to want to take this section, fold this out, and this also was really impressive to me, how the back leg does in fact completely compress into this circular section. Super awesome. Fold all that out and extend it on this side as well. We can then come here to the tail. You're going to want to snap that there into place. You can see 2 grooves here and here. These are going to slot into the roofs of these sections, and these tabs are also going to peg into those slots. So snap that in there. Come here to the back. You can see 2 tabs here and here. These are going to be holstered via these slots on the interior section of the leg. So just align this up, snap that there into place, and once that's complete, we can take these grooves and just snap that in there. Then finally, you can see tiny little notches here that will peg into these tabs. Snap that there. And then just ensure that the crest is all aligned up appropriately. Open the mouth slightly. We can bring in the gun. This was awesome weapon storage. So this ports in here, and the way it's been designed, it does actually fill out one of the tiny little ridges that we've got here on the back of Slag's tail, and I think it looks really coherent. And that is the full transformation for our Studio Series Leader Class 86 movie Slag. And oh boy, what a time it is to be alive. This guy looks sensational. I actually think that his Dino mode is my preferred out of the robot mode, and that was pretty much spot on, but this just looks so awesome. I actually compared this to a screen cap from the original G1 series, and it was literally like this guy had walked off the screen and here into my review station. He looks exceptional. I also think that it comes down to the paint as well. The colour variation for this guy too is almost a spot-on match. You can see here for the Dino head, it looks terrific. We've got some really nice sculpted in panel lines. That Autobot insignia slap bang there in the centre, as well as the 3 Triceratops horns, all of which have been sculpted appropriately well and look very nice. As we open the mouth, we do in fact have a blast effect port, although it's a little more difficult to actually get the blast effects implemented in there when in comparison to Grimlock, as they do go to a slight angle. But here I've got the Siege Jetfire effect, and you can see that looks so awesome. Really well done. We've got this entire crest section here around the side, which I think looks really nice. You can see how that's been detailed appropriately. And as we spin here to a side perspective, just loaded with sculpted and surface detail. As mentioned, I know that's not every G1 fan's cup of tea, but for me, being a live action movie fan, it definitely is a sight to behold. All of the arms have got so much intricate detail, as so do these side panels. We've got also what appears to be almost missile pods. Now, the way they've been sculpted, of course, it would probably shoot into this actual crest section and blow his own head off, but this looks really impressive. I love how this looks. Some nice sculpt work here at the top. Nice gold here at the back, and as we spin here to the rear legs, I think these are just as nicely sculpted as the front ones, albeit hollow due to the way they compact. You can also see they've actually sculpted the interior of these, which is something they didn't have to do. And the same can also be said here for this side. And the tail too, I think, looks really well done. I can see some having an issue with the gun being a different colour to the actual gold, but personally, I don't think this looks too bad at all. I think it's quite impressive how they've managed to get the sculpt work on the gun to match the actual back section of the tail, and in robot mode, you really wouldn't think that this is where it would end up. Turning here to the underside, you can see he compacts fairly nicely. We do get some hollow gaps here, but it's definitely nothing to write home about, and you can also see some nice sculpted in detailing here for the base of the feet. So overall, as far as presentation is concerned, this guy for me is literally flawless. Turning to articulation, the mouth can open and close to quite a good extent. To me, Slag's always reminded me of a frog. Just that expression, it just really does look rather frog-like, but still really nicely done. We get the ratchet joints here, so these can hinge forwards and backwards out to the sides. We can, of course, bring these back in order to create a slightly more animation-accurate look, utilising the double hinge joints. These legs can hinge forwards and backwards, bend at the knee, as well as bend here at the foot, and there is no tail articulation. So it is a little limited, but considering the blocky nature of the design, I think that it is more than well done. And if we just bring in Daniel, as far as his implementation is concerned, it's once again very similar to Grimlock. So we've got these 2 slots here on the side of the legs that will merely just holster into some tabs here at the top. And there you've got him. Once again, I do apologise that he's being blasted out of the review station due to him being completely white, but that is how he would store on the top of Slag's body. Bringing Grimlock back in, of course, this time in his T-Rex mode. Forget having a bigger boat, I'm going to need a bigger shelf. These guys are massive, and if we are going to get the rest of them, my goodness, what a sight to behold this is going to be. I think the scale in Dino mode, considering they were more or less on par with one another, if anything Slag was slightly taller in bot mode, is thoroughly impressive. The way he compacts into this very chunky, rather boxy design truly is impressive. You can see here from a side perspective, they look so awesome. Who would have thought, as mentioned before, that we would have gotten such highly detailed, highly accurate Dinobots in 2021. Honestly, Hasbro are knocking it out of the park, and I cannot wait to see what the likes of Swoop, Sludge, and Snarl all turn out to look like. And here for more 86 movie and War for Cybertron comparisons, we've got Slag compared to Hot Rod. I think the scale works quite well here. We've also got Cup, and of course the creator of the Dinobots. Here we've got Wheeljack, and I also think these guys look really awesome with one another. So definitely super awesome, will fit into both your Studio Series 86 line as well as your War for Cybertron collection. And wrapping up here with comparisons, we've got the new Studio Series version compared next to that Power of the Primes version. And honestly, just get out of here. This guy has been completely made redundant, as the new Studio Series version looks bigger and badder than ever. Really impressed with how this has turned out. You can see, even as far as the sculpt is concerned, the Studio Series version is just so much more faithful, especially where the head is concerned. You can even see for the torso, just so much more animation accurate, and the proportions, for me at least, in Dino mode are pretty much spot on. And so, some final thoughts here for the Transformers Studio Series 1986 movie leader class Slag and Daniel. I think this guy is excellent. As mentioned in my Grimlock review, I really do not think there is much need for Masterpiece if Hasbro and Takara Tomy are going to continue putting out such exceptional figures as this guy. He really does look excellent, and if you would have shown me him 2 or 3 years ago, I would have probably mistaken him for an MP release. As far as that bot mode is concerned, by far the best mass-produced representation we've ever gotten for the character. And finally, in scale, leader class is the scale that the Dinobots should always be in. They're big, they're bulky, and they're a force to be reckoned with. They should always tower over your other characters, and I'm so glad that we're finally getting that here with the 86 line. I think the accessories are pretty decent. I still am not a massive fan of these non-articulated, semi-posed action figures that they're packing in, and it does appear as if though it's going to be a running theme with these leader class Dinobots, so I imagine we'll get some of these guys when they do release Sludge and Snarl. I imagine Swoop will probably be a Voyager. I would like to just see them completely scrap them and just throw in the swords, although it's not 86 movie accurate, it is G1 accurate, so that would be nice. But nevertheless, I think the transformation is incredibly intuitive. Really impressed with that. No area feels too difficult nor too simplistic, and it results in such a fantastic looking Triceratops Dino mode. Overall, if you are a fan of the 86 movie, you're a G1 fan or you're a Dinobot fan, this guy here is a must add to your collection. And considering it appears as if though Hasbro are going to go all in on these Dinobots and probably give us the full 5, then this guy is one that you're going to have to add to the collection, and I can really see him flying off shelves as he is incredible. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do let me know down in the comment section below. Also, of course, be sure to let me know what you think of both the review and the figure itself. Will you be adding him to your collection? Do you agree with my thoughts? Is he as good as I say he is, or does your opinion differ? I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.